I feel much better. I feel much better now. I feel much better. I feel much better now.
Hello and welcome to People Who Inspire. I'm your host, Mary Drelisak. Today we're at the Village in California and the Rutledge Institute at Cal U. And we're going to meet some amazing people who are making a difference in the lives of children and their parents and shaping their futures. We're so glad you can be with us. Let's go find out more. So Clark, thanks so much for being with us today.
Happy to be here.
You're the CEO and founder of the Village. So how did it begin? How did Clark decide that the Village needed to exist?
It all started at a golf match. A friend called me one day and said that he entered a foursome in a golf outing, a charity golf outing in Hannistown and in Greensburg. And we were going to be on a foursome, and he didn't say what the charity was. So we got there and we played the round. And then after we had dinner, and at dinner they had a speaker from Mom's House in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Mom's House was a charity that gave scholarships to children of single moms who wanted to complete their education. So if they were in high school or middle school or college or nursing school, as long as they stayed in school and got good grades and attended their classes like a real student, then Mom's House provided childcare for them. And when that student mom gave her presentation, we had a room full of men who were literally crying. So afterwards I said, we have a college in our town. We've obviously got high school state students throughout the valley, and wouldn't it be nice if we could provide something like that for them? So there were two ladies in our church here at First Presbyterian Church, one of whom was a retired teacher, elementary school teacher, and the other one was a mom of three daughters who was about to be an empty nester. She was heading toward that. So I talked to both of them and said I had an idea and I'd like to go on a field trip. We went to visit Mom's House. And afterwards, we stopped for coffee, and I told both of them I thought this would be a great thing to do in California. And they said, who's going to run it? And I said, you guys. And we continued to talk about it, and we were in church one day, and a girl came in, a college student, and she was very pregnant. It was obvious that she was pregnant. And we went over and talked to her afterwards and welcomed her and asked her why she was in church. And she said, she was kind of having a hard time because she was a Cal U student. She got pregnant and she didn't know how she was going to finish her senior year. So Cherie and Jeannie stepped up and said, we'll take care of your child. We'll volunteer to do it. And this will be the start of the Village.
Wow.
So they did that. And once we had that story to tell, it wasn't hard to recruit board members from Cal U, from the community, lawyers, doctors, business people, and we launched, raised some funds. A friend of mine from Washington, D.C. did all of the incorporation papers, and he's a very powerful, high-paid lawyer, but he did it all for free. And it was just like one door opened after another to make this happen for very little money. And we launched, and we had a few children, and then it grew. One of the board members said, if we opened it further and took children whose care was subsidized by the county, then we'd have more children, we'd serve more families, and we'd have another source of income. So we defined our program to incorporate those children who got subsidized care, and then the parents paid a small copay, and they became part of our program.
Wow.
Then we got on a mission to improve everything and be the best in the business. So we got nationally accredited, and Keystone Stars is the Pennsylvania accreditation. We achieved that. And then we had parents that wanted to pay the full fare, the same as they would at another child care facility. So those parents came to us, and then we had, the scholarships, the subsidized, and the full pay. And the beauty of it is that financially it strengthened us, but also from a demographic standpoint, we have children here who have so much and children who have so little, and they don't know the difference. when they go home, they might not have any toys at all or very few toys. And when they're here, they're all sharing the same toys. So it's delightful to see them on the playground and all of them learning and growing together. And it's hard not to like.
That's an amazing story. And it started with an invitation to the golf outing.
Yes.
And you're accepting it and then being introduced to Mom's house. Now, when you went to Mom's house and even going there, even feeling that story and hearing about the work that they were doing, it had to come from a deep place within you as a parent, as a father, as someone who has shown up in the life of your children. Tell me about that. You have a daughter. Tell me how being a dad made the difference here as well.
Well, the difference was that I was pleased and felt very thankful that my daughter had a dad. She had two parents in her life for her whole life. And that I knew that having her mom with her foundation and her caring and the work that she was doing at home, and then having a dad to do things that were fun in the evenings and on the weekends and stuff, how that helped my daughter. I felt bad that other children didn't have that opportunity. And so I wanted to help somehow get these children and their moms, and in some cases dads, because there's some single fathers too that we've helped, help them get their lives established and bootstrap up, so that we were giving a hand up rather than a handout.
And so in doing that, you I mean, in your background was not in education per se. So this was a truly a seed of faith and a seed planted for you to grow. And yet, just talk about that. You know, your career was as a, what were you?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
That's amazing.
I worked in the energy business. And if we go all the way back to high school, I was going to be a teacher. I was on the road to be a high school English teacher. I had been accepted at Cal U. That was my plan. And my high school chemistry teacher said, no, you need to be an engineer. And there's this program in Penn State. And he basically pushed me to be an engineer, and went off and did that. And I can do engineering. I did engineering. But I ended up doing more management and business development than engineering, and this is just another form of business development.
Absolutely, and planning. So in the end, it all worked out.
It did.
Did it? God had a plan for your life.
He did.
Yes.
And sometimes it took a lightning strike instead of a burning bush, but we got here anyway.
Absolutely. It may not happen overnight. You may have to do a career first.
Yes.
And get through years of preparation for this.
There you go.
Absolutely. So you definitely saw the need and you made it happen. Now, tell me about the people that are leading here at the village with the children.
Well, we have Miss Cherie, who's been with us for 16 years since the beginning, started as a volunteer. And we had various directors, a few directors along the course of the way. And then we found Ashley 9 years ago. Ashley Roth is the director here at this center. And Cherie Sears is the director at the other center and the president of the organization today.
Very good. So you have a nice staff. But tell me about the children. How many children are here and their ages that are at the village?
We start with 6 weeks. We've got a handful of infants. Then they move up when they become more mobile into a second room. And altogether there's 6 classrooms here, and they go from infants to age 4. Some will go right from here to kindergarten. And our capacity is around 73 full-time equivalent, I think, at this facility. And we're probably at 2/3 of that now. Post-pandemic, it's picking up again, but there are still people working from home. There are still people who aren't sure they want to go back to work. And as a result of the pandemic, we also have raised wages and done some things here so that it's a little more costly to come here than it was in 2019.
Right.
So that's rebuilding.
Sure. And, and this is a nonprofit.
It is.
And even going back to that, all the things it had to do, you talked about the lawyer and, getting all those papers involved. It was quite a journey to get to where you are today to be able to provide this. Have you found that with COVID and people working from home, you might think that working from home, you may not need childcare, but on the other hand, you might truly need childcare if you're working from home to make that an easier thing to do. Do you find any growth or change just because people are working from home?
Well, what I think is happening is that we're seeing more parents who want drop-off care. They want a day a week or a couple days a week during those critical times that they're going to a board meeting or they've got something that they have to attend to where they can't have the dog running across the table in front of them or the child screaming in the background. And that's really hard if you're trying to educate children and they're not here every day. You have children that are here every day from early in the morning until the afternoon, and you do a program, a lesson plan to teach them, even when they're infants. You've got a schedule, a routine that you're trying to teach certain materials or you're trying to develop certain skills with the children. And if you have one that's only here one day a week, they can't catch up. And it's a distraction to the others. And then you get a behavior problem because the child that doesn't fit in is causing a disruption, and sometimes it involves, hitting or biting or whatever.
Right. So that continuity is so important. What are some of the things that in the course of the day and the plans of the day that the children here are spending their time doing? What kind of activities?
Well, they all have circle time in the morning to get things kicked off, and there's usually a lesson there. It could be depending on which classroom it is. They could be reading them a book, they could be telling them stories, they could be doing an art project. So that's around 9 o'clock or so. Then they have some free time that they can go to different stations within the classroom and free play, and it's more creative. Then they go out to the playground, and after the playground they come in for lunch. All of our full-time children get a hot lunch served to them, catered hot lunch. The children that are only here part-time, it's hard to have extra lunches for the days that they're here and manage that, so they bring their lunches. But they all sit at the table with napkins and utensils and eat their lunch, except the babies that are drinking from bottles. And then after lunch they have nap time, put cots out, and they have a rest period that most of them sleep, but those that can't sleep still have quiet time. They stay on their cot and read or play with Legos or something on their cots. And then after that, another lesson. And then if it's nice out, back outside again or more activities. But it's a full day for them, but there's learning happening all the time. And it's amazing the growth that you see in these children. It's just amazing. Then we have special programs like yesterday we took the preschool and pre-K children to Cal U and they got swimming lessons. So for 6 weeks, every Thursday, we walk them down to Cal U. They have swimming lessons, and then we bring them back up here. And it's with the swim team, and each of the swim team members is in the pool with one child. So you got one child and one teacher giving them swimming lessons, and it's hard to give a child that experience anywhere else.
They otherwise wouldn't have it. And how many of them might never learn how to swim?
Right.
And how this someday could even save their life or give them a passion for swimming in school and beyond.
Yes.
Get them before any fear develops, so they just know that they can do it and they have that total trust.
Right. And nobody's going to swim laps, at 3 or 4 years old. But the fact that they can be drown proof, that's the main thing. If you fall in a pool, they can float long enough or swim well enough to get to the side.
Yes, absolutely. How many of them may have a pool in their backyard?
Or next door.
What a gem. What a wonderful thing that you're offering.
Yeah.
That's great for them. So tell me how the Village and the Rutledge Institute are connected.
Well, legally, the Village is a contractor to the Rutledge Institute, so that we operate a child care facility on Cal U's campus.
Hi, Cherie. Thanks so much for giving us a chance to talk a little bit. If you could, please introduce yourself and what your role here is at the Rutledge Institute.
Sure. I'm Cherie Sears, and I am the president of the Village and the director here at the Rutledge Institute.
All right. Thanks so much. And let's go back. Let's go back into Cherie's life to find out your path and how you came to be where you are and what you're doing here. Let's go back to the roots.
I think I was called to do this, and I know that sounds kind of corny, but I was a mother of 3 children. I helped with my parents when they needed me. I had been a Navy wife, and my husband retired back here and went into education. And at some point it was, well, what's next? I've kind of helped my family. Now what am I going to do next? And Clark Harrison, from a friend from church, said, hey, I have this idea. Could we maybe do childcare for single parent full-time students to help them get through school? So we explored that. There were 3 of us in the beginning, and we started the village with 1 baby and 2 volunteers. I volunteered for 2 years, and then we finally were financially stable enough to be able to hire me. So I've been with us since 2008, and we started our nonprofit in 2006, but that was just a fundraise until we could actually pay some rent in 2008.
Tell me about the children that you're serving, their ages, just that piece of it.
Here at Rutledge, we have preschool and pre-K classrooms. The preschool children need to be 3 by September 1st, and the pre-K children need to be 4 by September 1st. We have space for 20 children in each room, and it is, you mentioned journey before. It's a journey for them. When they start with us in preschool, often they've never been away from mom. They haven't been around other children. They haven't had any kind of structured day. They watch TV when they want to. They eat when they want to. And it's all different. After a month, it's pretty smooth. By Christmas, we're really smooth. They know what's expected. They are anxious to be here every day. They've made friends. They've really become part of something special.
Very good. Tell me some of the things that they are learning in their different age groups.
Sure. Letters and numbers, of course. We do the traditional preschool things. We do circle time in the morning. They talk about the weather. They talk about the calendar. But we also do project-based learning, where the children study a topic for about a month, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how interested they are in that. The preschool class has done roads, they've done trees. The pre-K class has done architecture, which just takes roads up to another notch a little. So same kind of discovery, but they're doing it, and everything is hands-on. It is all inquiry-based, so there are lots of questions, and they learn through play. So it's noisy a lot of the time, but there's a lot of activity, and it's all with a real focus on learning.
Absolutely. There are some particular pieces of equipment and things that it's all impressive. Every inch of the rooms are impressive. But the screen with the monkey, tell me about what that is.
Sure. That's Norilla, and Norilla is an artificial intelligence platform that was designed at Carnegie Mellon. It allows the children to work interactively with the screen, so they can build towers, they can do other experiments, and the screen is watching what they're building and then giving them feedback and asking them to predict what's going to happen next. They predict, and then they push the button to have the earthquake happen. The table shakes. Then they see what happened. And if it's not what they predicted would happen, then the gorilla, the Norilla, comes back on and says, what you thought would happen didn't happen, because it's tracking what they're doing. Or, great job, you got the right choice. Did this happen because, and explains maybe it's because there's a firmer base, so this tower stood. Maybe this tower was taller and narrower, and that's why it fell over more quickly. So they have to think. It's not just push a button and play.
That's right. So you have to think about, anticipate what's going to happen next.
Yes.
And what other lessons are surrounding that? What are the other things that they're learning?
Oh, they can do all sorts of things with Norilla and without Norilla. Norilla has all kinds of STEM applications, including physics. They do, outside of Norilla, car ramps. They see if sandpaper goes faster or slower, if felt goes faster or slower, a car down a ramp. They do Osmo, which is an app used on the iPad. They have equipment to go with that. They really like that. They are using technology that they're going to need to be able to use in the workplace and in school as they get older.
It's so high tech. What's interesting is that it's so high tech, and yet at the same time, there is your standard play. There are your blocks. There were children making boxes and sitting in the boxes, and they had a whole thing happening. So there is the hands-on child's play, all types of play in
Right.
learning through the day here.
Right, most definitely. And we use centers. So the centers are, we have center time, which is about a third of their day. They're able to just choose what they want to do. And it could be dramatic play, it could be art, it could be science, it could be math. They might want to go to Cozy and look at books. Whatever they want to do, but only so many can do it at a time. And COVID's really cut back on the number in a center. So they've really had to learn to negotiate, and that works on their socialization skills too. Because they learn, I really want to be in blocks, but my two friends are in blocks. How do I get one of them out of there so I can go in blocks? And you'll hear, don't you want to do this? Look how much fun it is. And so they can switch
Negotiation,
places.
yeah,
Yes,
that's-
and I think it's a skill that we all need to learn.
That's absolutely
Yes.
very good skill at such a young age to be able to learn that. You were also talking about the golf, which also is teaching a lot of lessons outside of the classroom. The classroom is going outside. Tell me a little bit about the golf program here.
Sure. We are participating in Birdie Basics. We have 4 professional golf management interns. They're seniors in the golf management program. They're doing internships here on campus with our children. It's magic. They work with them one-on-one, they work with them in small groups, and they're not making them little professional golfers. It's not Tiger Woods Jr., but they are learning how to follow rules. They're learning colors and numbers. They do an obstacle course. They're learning about general physical fitness, that you need to be generally physically fit in order to do well in sports. They tell them you're all athletes. They learn about safe spaces so that they're not too close when they pick up the club. Their hands, the proper position of their hands, and they kind of let them figure it out, because if they're not holding it right when they go to swing, it's uncomfortable, and they naturally then correct themselves, and the coaches help adjust. It is an amazing program, and I'm so glad that we've been able to partner with the golf management program for that.
What an opportunity that is, for sure, for sure. So tell me about the students that get to teach here, that they get to help here and learn here, the Rutledge Scholars. Tell me
Right.
about that.
A big part of the Rutledge Institute is the Rutledge Scholars. The Rutledge Family Foundation funds 10 scholarships for CalU students per year. So right now, the first year they didn't quite have 10, so we have 36 scholars. We're in our 4th year. The scholars do field experiences at different times here. Right this semester, we have the freshman scholars. So we have 10 who come in. They'll each do 3 hours a week. They do a lot of one-on-one with the children. For them, this is their first field experience. So they're also finding out, did they make the right choice? Do they want to be in early childhood education? Is this what they should focus on for the next 4 years? And if not, they're going to find out pretty quickly, because it's kind of like being thrown into the frying pan. You know, you've got to, or swimming pool, sink or swim. The kids are, they don't get, let's be subtle and ease our way in. They are right there learning from day one, and you're part of our classroom, you're part of our classroom, totally.
It's all in, and they're
Yes.
learning right from the get-go. So that's a great experience for them, and it's a scholarship, so their tuition is paid.
Tuition, room and board.
Wow, that's amazing to be able to do
Yes.
that and to have that opportunity.
Yes.
and to be into what they bring to the classroom, or they bring to the center as well. And then you have your lead teachers as well working with
Right.
them.
Our
Yes.
lead teachers are amazing. They really are. They have decided to focus on preschool and pre-K, and it takes a little bit different personality. It's not where everybody sits at a desk and listens and does their work, and I know that's a simplification. Teachers would shake their heads at me, but I understand what they do and that it's not always
Sure.
that way.
Very hands-on.
Yes, but at this level, we learn through play.
Right.
And learning through play, the teachers need to be involved in that play, and they need to scaffold the learning. They ask questions that make the children think. It's really about taking their learning to the next level, and that goes on all day long. So it's kind of an exhausting job, but it's an incredibly rewarding job
And
too.
you see that growth. Now let's talk about how the Rutledge Institute is supporting the parents and making it possible for their children to be here. How does that work?
Well, each parent has to agree to attend 2 parenting workshops per quarter. We really want family involvement because research shows us that families that are involved in their children's education, there are just better outcomes, not just learning outcomes, but lifetime better outcomes for the children. So the parents are a part of this program. We're open from 7 to 5 right now, and that allows people to go to work. Yeah, so many families need to do that. It's not just a program that's part day. So, gee, that would be nice, but I can't come home from work in the middle of the day and pick up my children, and then what do I do? So we're open all day. We require at least 5 hours a day per participation, 5 days a week. And that is so that we have the children enough to really be able to make a difference. The Rutledges want to know that their investment is helping young children. So we're very serious about that. With the parents, we also involve them in other ways. We have special events. Our trunk or treat just gets bigger and bigger every year. It started out fairly small inside, and after that it grew, and the parking lot across the street is half full 2 sides. So the families enjoy it too, and they are really a part of the program. It's not just my child goes there and I don't have anything else to do with it. We keep them informed. We have an app called Bright Wheel, and that is a way for the parents to stay informed throughout the day. The teachers, through their iPads, let the parents know what's happening in the classroom, if there are any special needs, anything that the children need for another day. They let them know that way. They let them know how the day's going. They can send pictures. So there's a 2-way communication there.
That's great. That's great. How is it funded, or how do parents pay for it? What does that look like?
It's completely free for families. It is, again, an amazing opportunity. It is totally, everyone who comes here, the tuition is funded from a gift from the Rutledge Family Foundation to Cal U, and then the village manages the program for Cal U. So we're a nonprofit, we have higher education involved, and we have private family foundation money involved. All of this is such a gift to the Mon Valley, which is where the Rutledges came from. Peters Township. They lived in California. Tom Rutledge went to school at Cal U and graduated from Cal U. They had a young daughter when they were here, and they saw a need in this community. This area was very good to them, and they wanted to give back.
That's great. How does a family qualify? If it's free, it's the funding is
Yes, we do have a financial upper limit. It's very generous. It's well above pre-K counts, well above Head Start, and that is because the Rutledges wanted to provide this opportunity for young children who otherwise would not have this opportunity. So if families can afford it, that's great, that's wonderful. We have the village in town with the same curriculum, but over here it's for families that really could not afford a 5-day program for their children, but want the highest quality for them.
Absolutely. Do you have a story of someone who's been particularly impacted by being able to send their children here? I'm sure there's
It's
many.
hard to
Pick one.
narrow it down. It is
Pick
hard
one.
to narrow it down, but yes, we had one family that single parent, and she was able to finish school, but her degree program required a master's degree to really be able to practice. So she was able to keep her children here, and it's just been remarkable. I mean, she is now married. There's a very stable family situation. She is working for a school district. Her husband has a good job. He was at Penn State. Now he's at Pitt. They're doing well. They just needed that hand up right at the beginning. And you give people help, and they take it and they run with it, and they strengthen themselves, and then they're able to do so much more.
That's wonderful.
And that's how that family's been. So whenever I see them and think of them, I think that's why we do this.
Exactly. It enabled her to be able to continue her education
Yes.
so they could be where they are today.
Mhm.
That's fabulous. Anything you want the viewers to know, just generally about the Rutledge Institute and what they need to know about here and how it can serve them?
We have openings. We are enrolling for fall now, so please reach out to us. We have we have Facebook, we have social media presence, we have a web page. So please just reach out to us, call. We're looking for children 3 and 4 years old. We have so much to offer them, and yes, it takes a commitment from the families to be a part of this, but it's an amazing program. You saw the children wear uniforms. We want them to feel like they're really a part of something special, and that is a part of that, so that they stand a little taller and have a little more self-confidence. That's part of what we're building, and their resilience. After COVID, it's been a struggle for a lot of families and getting back into the swing of life. The kids here are out swinging.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. They're growing, and you're seeing their progress and
Most definitely.
social skills and academically, and you're really preparing them for what's next. For what's next for them is kindergarten, but what's next for that is endless, and
Right.
anything is possible thanks to their start here.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
so much
you.
for being with us. Well, welcome, Karen. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk to you today.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you for your interest in what we do. Thank you.
Absolutely. And this is people who inspire. And so as we're learning about, everything that we've seen today with the children, I like to learn a little bit about the people behind it as well. So both you and your husband, Tom, have, created, the Rutledge Institute and the Early Childhood Education Center. And so being able to do this together as founders of this, why is education so important to you and Tom? Let's go there.
I would say that, work and education brings a mountain of opportunity and so many choices in life. The better the education, the earlier you can get it, the more opportunity is going to come around you to, fulfill whatever you want to do.
And it starts young. It starts
young. It starts very young. Yeah.
There's
And so it's being on the topic of education. Tom and I lived off campus in Cal U years ago. Tom and I, Tom was at the time what was referred to as a non-traditional student, because he went back to finish his degree, and we had already started a family. We had our daughter just under a year old. and it was a big leap to, quit your job and, just put the time in and get it done and get moving. And so we were very fortunate that the decisions that we made in life, moving 11 times, and just searching for opportunity at every turn, and having the education to be able to do that. So we're fortunate. We accumulated some wealth, and we thought we should go back and take a look at non-traditional students and see what we could do. So it's well over 15 years ago, probably closer to 20, we started to work with the university in providing scholarships for non-traditional students. And then from there, we went into the economics department and provided scholarships for some of those students and internships. And I just thought one day, why are we starting to educate people when they're adults? Why, you see how important preschool is, and it's never taken seriously. People look at it as daycare, but there's so much wasted time for these little minds. So I just said to Tom one day, we should start a preschool. And our very good friend, past president Jerry Jones, and her husband Jeff, I mentioned it to them one day, and they jumped on the idea right away, and they introduced me to the village. And so that's how we got started.
Wonderful. And it is an amazing to be both at the village and the Rutledge Institute. It is an amazing thing to see in both places, to be able to see the children interacting with each other, playing and playing so calmly and so focused, and really engaging with their leaders, their instructors, who that's another piece of it as well. So you're helping parents being able to send their children, which is so important, so that they can better their lives, and so that their children can be in a better place to grow in their lives as well. There's that piece of it.
Yeah, it's a nice trickle up, I would call it, taking care of the kids during the day and giving them an education, and they go home. One story that really sticks with me is one of the non-traditional students said one day, while he got up to speak, he was about to graduate, and he said, my family and I, we don't watch television at night anymore. We all sit around the table and do our homework. And when you think of that, like, yeah, that's, and the children learning doesn't stop. They're sitting there watching their dad do his homework, and they're just part of the group. So that really touched me, and I saw, wow, they take this home. It can really take a lot of pressure off of parents. Some of our kids, they come from non-traditional families. Some of them have caretakers, grandparents. So yeah, it helps not just the child, and it's been fun to watch how it's really affecting the whole community. We have such interest. I don't know if you got to see the kids with their golf coach or their
No, but I heard about it. Tell me about it. I love it. That program sounds so
the
amazing.
university students are so excited to be a part of it. So it's been so much fun to watch it touch the whole community. And, the university is deep with resources, and we have to keep exploring and seeing how else we can work together. It's been fun.
That's fabulous. I love those that programs, teaching them focus, honesty, golf.
Golf.
It's-
Yeah.
by the
Honestly, they're
way-
not going to the PGA, I can tell you that.
by the
But
way,
they
they're learning
do,
golf.
but
Yeah.
they do learn so many life lessons. Golf, just etiquette, and taking your turn and, and like you say, focus.
Patience, rooting for the other person. Oh, so many.
Yes,
It's
yes.
beautiful. That is the coolest thing ever, really. So the other group that's impacted by this certainly is the Rutledge Scholars. So here, the students, there are 10 scholarships, and students can apply for and then have tuition and paid for, and at the same time get this experience in the classroom in a much earlier place than they would have otherwise. And we saw them in action. We saw
Oh,
those
good.
scholars in action, and they were doing an amazing job with the children, and what an opportunity for them at Cal U to be able to do this. So why was that so important to you to have that component?
Well, it's just made sense. The university actually has its roots. It started out as a teacher's college, and they were there, and we were able to provide some more scholarships. And so we decided to focus on the education department. And what we really try to do is attract highly qualified, seniors, high school seniors, who really want to teach early childhood education. But closest to my heart is that I hope that they don't look at early childhood education as kindergarten through whatever. I don't know what, I think it's kindergarten through like 6th grade or something is considered early education. I think it's more important. I want to focus more on 3-year-olds to maybe 6-year-olds, and hope that they can see this as a profession. And again, not a daycare. This is not a daycare. There's no reason in the world that education starts with kindergarten. There's, and you see this now through the country too. There's chatter about, oh, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we should be funding, preschool. And well, we can't wait for them.
Right.
We can never wait for them to fix all of our problems or look into something new. It just takes too long. So yeah, the scholars, we're going to actually have our first graduating class this year of the scholars completing their 4th year. So that's exciting. And we have 10 more coming in. So we'll constantly be bringing in 10 more each year. So we have a whole cohort. So
that is a fabulous piece of it. And it was a thrill to be able to see that. And just thrilled to be able to see them kind of taking in what they were doing, and knowing that they could see. Not too many people, very seldom can you see, even as a freshman, what your career is going to look like and feel like.
that's right.
So that's
right. And it has, again, I pray they stick with us, but most people at some point in time change their career or decide, I don't really want to do that. We have interns that we send off. The deal is they have to leave the area for their internship. We've had students go to Brazil. I mean, one guy, his first time he ever flew, I think he went to Africa. I can't remember. And we also had some that go to DC that are studying politics. And a couple of those came back and said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. So for the scholars, they might get in the classroom and say, maybe this isn't for me.
and that's okay if that happens.
And that's okay. We have no business telling people that they have to sign up. This is not, West Point.
Sure, exactly.
No.
But at the same time, I would think at the same time, if they knew that they were liking it and enjoying this experience, that going then into the classroom would I know for me, would make me
work harder and listen more intently and put more into it, because I get this. This is so applies. And really, I can see the
I've really been impressed with so many of them that when they graduate from high school, they already have a resume in working with children, whether it's through their church or whatever, or summer camps. Those are the ones, that we would really like to keep. We're also now trying to, and you talk about career change, we're thinking about maybe to offer these scholarships to, again, non-traditional students, people that want to change their career, adults. Maybe they decided, they want to teach small children. They don't want to work where they're working, and I think what would be wonderful is we have somebody who has had children, and honestly, they're the best teachers because they've already been there. I would love to see that man or woman come in and say, I really like I like teaching children. So I would find that's something really to invest in, a scholarship for those people wanting to change their career.
I think that's exciting. It gives them a second chance.
Right.
And that's exciting.
Mhm.
Great. Well, thank you for that. What was it, or was there anything, the influences that led you to care so much of, even more so about education, going back to even when where you grew up, when you grew up? Tell me a little bit about your early years, and and how where you are today and where you grew up.
I was actually born in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I grew up in the South Hills. We went to, I went to a parochial school until I think 7th grade. And then had to then move into public school. And it was all fine. But, when I was a kid, it was a long time ago, you didn't really start school until actually first grade. I did go to kindergarten, but I didn't learn any more than my letters and, my colors. And I watch, Tom and I have 6 grandchildren, and every one of them went to high quality preschools, and I have granddaughters who are reading chapter books in kindergarten. And I just thought, wow, boy, did I waste a lot of time. I could have been reading then too. It's possible. They can learn that early. And it's, studies have been done too, that it doesn't really matter how young you learn to read. That sort of fades as the child gets older. But what doesn't fade is just learning how to learn, and that doesn't go away. And that's, a baby starts to learn as soon as they can focus their eyes. So, why not grab? I saw it in my own grandchildren, how much more they could do because they could read. Read a street sign, to know where they are. So that's a good reason why I wanted to focus on kids. I saw in myself, and people of my generation, such a loss of opportunity starting school and kindergarten. It's hard. It's hard for parents. It's top quality preschools are expensive. And so the village provides for children who qualify for subsidies. The Rutledge Institute again, we have the kids whose families fall through the cracks, hardworking families that make too much money for subsidies, but they can't afford to send their kid to preschool. So there has to be a way for those kids to take advantage of that time too.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. And as I mentioned too, what we saw with the students so focused and so engaged in really that self-discovery of learning, as each one was engaged in their activity, you could see that when you talk about starting in first grade or in kindergarten, all the time that could have happened, all the things they could have discovered previous to that, all the places they could have gone, and even within a book, but or even more so within their knowledge base, it is lost without that component, and a good one, and a good component. And truly, what we saw at the Village and the Rutledge Institute was amazing. Any child that would have, really the privilege of going there, and it is open to everyone, is the beautiful thing. Every child is going to be better for having gone there. Absolutely, we could see that. So that was
That's a goal. That's a goal that we have, and
yes.
I hope it works for everyone.
Well, you're certainly helping to make students of all ages better and more capable to, the sky's the limit for them. Was there anybody in your life that particularly inspired or influenced you?
Oh, there's probably more than one, I would have to say. It's probably my mother saying, can't you just leave the door open for the person behind you? And sometimes she meant it literally, but a lot of times, but always so helpful. So, we come from a humble background. And say, people say I came from nothing, but everybody comes from something. So, but she gave everything she could. So I guess it's my mom. Yeah.
She's that kindness and that opening the door for the next person. You certainly are opening up the door for the next person, and together you and your husband, Tom, are making such a difference and such an impact. And maybe let's speak to that for just a moment, just your partnership in doing that. You're a husband and wife team, your grandparents, you're certainly in this together. And tell me that piece a little bit about just working together.
I think luck has a lot to do with it. To be so lucky to meet somebody when you're so young. I mean, it's luck, and just to know that you just want to be around that person. So we have worked together. Like I said, we moved to California, quitting jobs, taking a leap, and constantly moving our children 7 times. We moved them 7 times. And, every 3 or 4 years, we moved again for another opportunity. And just that sticking together, a lot of times it was just the 4 of us. And, my kids never knew a stranger. They were always meeting new friends. There was never a stranger. Everybody was just the next new friend. And they could have made it really hard. But they didn't. They went along with it all too. I really can't answer it. I don't know why it worked, except that I read a saying one time that said, a lasting couple don't sit there and look at each other. They look in the same direction. And I think maybe that's what we did. And the sharing, again, like I was saying, I get to do what I want, to start a preschool. He gets to do what he wants. Just supporting each other, and just so much luck. Being healthy, all of our children all healthy. Same with us. So I don't know, Mary. There's a lot of luck that comes involved, and I think you have to be smart enough to grab every piece of luck you see, and don't walk by it.
Absolutely. While you're opening doors for the next person, you're also opening up your own doors too, and gone in different places. And there's a trust and there's a closeness of the family because you all relied on each other. The kids have learned to adapt and you've grown closer in the process. So
I think so.
it's all coming together has made such a difference in so many lives. So thank you for sharing a little bit about you and also what the work that you're both doing together to make such a difference in this community.
Well, thank you. And thanks for taking an interest in the school. And again, nobody does this alone. We literally found the village, and they just simply amaze me. Every day they come up with a new idea. And so we have a lot of things that we're trying to cook up to improve our programs. And we're just going to keep building. We're just going to keep going.
Thanks so much, Karen.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, it was so much fun today to be able to talk to the amazing people at the Village and the Rutledge Institute, to see the impact and the work that they're doing with children, impacting their parents, and also the Rutledge Scholars, impacting this community in such a special way, such a big way, and for life. Thanks so much for watching, and have a blessed day.
I feel much better now.